Hello, everybody. I am Nomad. I hope that you're all having a good day. This is Nomad here. Hey, Matt Barkley, I feel for you. I feel for your family. All right, hope your mom gets better. Um, just to let you know, you're not alone in these kind of situations. For example, my wife actually had a situation where they had to pull a 6 centimeter blood clot out of her arm, right, due to uh, an infection that took them a long time to find a medicine that actually would combat the disease. And the result she was getting drips intravenously, and quite frankly, it created a blood clot. All right, so these things are serious. They can really harm the health of the individual. So I hope she gets better. All right. But this is Nomad News. We're gonna go around the country and around the world a little bit, see what's out there, see what I can find and discuss. Good morning, Sherardi. Where's my voice? I am Nomad. Is that the voice you're looking for? Is that what you're looking for, Sherardi? Or are you looking for Jensen? Is that what you're looking for? I'm not sure what you're saying. Where's my voice? Where's my voice? Where's the voice? I can do lots of voices. But let's get started, shall we? Excuse me. There we go. And I will, whoops, kind of screw that up. There we are. Just for Sherardi, I'll play with my icons. All right. Biden picked for labor post defeated in the Senate with 3 Dems opposing. President Biden's nominee for a key position in the Labor Department was rejected by the Senate on Wednesday, with 3 Democrats joining all 50 Republicans to vote against the pick. The vote to advance David Wells' nomination to head up the Labor Department's Wage and Hour Division failed 53 to 47 as Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Kyrsten Sinema, and Mark Kelly opposed the nomination. The vote will end debate on the nomination only needed a single majority to pass. Wheel, who held the same position in the Obama administration, faced stiff opposition from the Senate Republicans who claim he would impose overburdensome regulations affecting small businesses and independent contractors. Business groups also expressed vehement opposition to Well, a dean at Brandeis University, for his belief that corporations like McDonald's should be liable for actions by franchisees. All right. Now, the reality of this, quite frankly, is this was a sellout job. Good morning, Jim. When I came in, you weren't speaking. No, that's true. When I first started, I was being quiet. The reality of this was a setup job, right? This guy became the sacrificial lamb. This was not an important post, folks. Anybody believes this was an important post? If he was the labor secretary, that would be at least something. But even the labor secretary is not really not a high position. And they've already got a communist in the labor secretary's position. So what difference does it make? This really makes no difference. The idea that this is going to have some kind of lasting impact on anything is just absolutely silly. I'm sorry. But the reason this guy got sacrificed, and this guy got thrown under the bus, the reason he got thrown under the bus, right, was so Kyrsten Sinema and good old Mark Kelly, along with Joe Manchin, when they come up for re-election, they can sit up and go, see, I'm not just a rubber stamp. No, you're rubber stamps, folks. You guys are going to sit up there and do this so that you can ensure this was done to ensure that they put Ketanji Brown on the Supreme Court. One of the worst people we've ever had nominated to the Supreme Court. And it's nothing to do with her race. She's a lying, deceitful, dishonest shrew. And she hates this country. And so this was the deal. We'll pay you back. We'll pay you back. We'll get rid of one of the communists that we want to put on the court. Or at least in the administration, rather. That's okay, right? That's okay. Now, I'm glad the guy got voted down. But Kirsten Sinema has been an enemy of corporations forever, so you know that that's not her reason to vote. And Mark Kelly is the exact same way. So some Arizona news. Governor Doug Ducey signs bill requiring proof of citizenship and residency to register to vote. This is actually a big change because there's a lot of people who got quote-unquote registered to vote in this last election that had absolutely no proof. Republican Governor Doug Ducey signed a bill on Wednesday requiring all residents of the Grand Canyon State to provide proof of citizenship and residency in order to register to vote in federal elections. All right, this is very important because they had motor voter law here. Yes, they did. All right, election integrity means counting every lawful vote and prohibiting any attempt to illegally cast a vote, the governor wrote in a letter backing the bill, calling it a balanced approach to making voting accessible and protecting elections. Previously, Arizona law mandated citizens provide citizenship and residency proof for state elections only. Arizonans looking to vote in federal elections need only to attest under penalty of perjury that they are a citizen, but did not have proof. All right. Ducey claimed that in his letter that more than 11,000 voters in the 2020 election had not provided proof of citizenship, and up to a mere 21 in 2014. All right. That's more than the discrepancy, okay, between the election. And so we have an election discrepancy issue. Now, does this mean that illegal people voted? No, it doesn't mean that because you have no proof. But it's an indicator that something's wrong. And that's the problem. And it's not the only indication that there is something wrong. We have to fix things. But if Ducey really wanted to fix things, he would sit up there and demand a bill to end these drop boxes and remove any kind of early voting, period. You have a voting day, and that should be it. Not a week, not 2 months, not drop boxes. Cinema is owned by Pfizer. She loves certain corporations very much. I'm sure that there's a lot more truth to that, and that's very true. Right? If you really want to know what the Democrats are up to, House set to pass marijuana legislation Friday. The House is set to pass legislation on Friday to legalize marijuana nationwide, an effort that has unprecedented levels of support in both chambers of Congress. The bill is likely to pass the lower chamber largely along party lines, with most Republicans expected to oppose it. Proponents argue that legalizing marijuana at the federal level will simply reflect most states' existing policies that allow it in some form. They also frame the effort as a way to end the disproportionate punishment of racial minorities and people of low-income communities for possessing and using weed. And with an overwhelming majority of Americans, as much as 91% in the Pew Research, backing marijuana legislation, at least for medical purposes, Democrats believe it's a winning issue for them ahead of the November midterms. There it is, folks. They ain't doing this because they believe in it. Like everything the Democrats do. They don't do things because they believe in it. They do things to sit up there and add power. We know just how not to plan anything and fight with kids, preteens, all damn day. God, I miss weed. Folks, now, I am not a person who believes in legalizing drugs the way people think. Okay? And I don't like this legislation for a entirely different reason. Okay? The reason I don't like this legislation is not because I think it's something that shouldn't be passed. Federal restrictions on marijuana, I don't agree with. I don't have a problem if the state wants to ban it, because I have no problem with the state banning any substance, to be honest. But to do it at the federal level gives unprecedented power to the federal government. I want to end all interaction, all decision making when it comes to quote unquote scheduling drugs of whatever kind it is away from the federal government. The federal government is not a solution to any of this stuff. It is a frickin' problem. Now it's fine. There's minorities saying, "Oh, they're being hammered by illegal drug use, and they're getting hit with their illegal drug use and everything else." Folks, I'm telling you now, there are people in jail for weed. Yeah. But a single time getting arrested for weed is not going to land you in jail, regardless of the color of your skin. Anywhere. This isn't the 1950s. And nor is it the 1960s. People act like, well, the statistics show that all these people are incarcerated for just smoking weed. No, they're not. They're incarcerated under plea deals that they sit up there and get them on narcotics charges. And the ones that are in there for weed, a good significant majority of, I wouldn't say a majority, but a good proportion of them, I guarantee you, are there because, yeah, they were smoking weed and they got popped for smoking weed on a probation violation. But once again, the biggest problem is the fact that you have a Food and Drug Administration able to sit up there and classify things as narcotics and how they're going to schedule drugs. There should not be a DEA. Period. These things should be done at the local and state level. And can be. There's no reason. There's absolutely no frickin' reason, all right, to have this at a federal level. So, yeah, I applaud this kind of legislation to a degree, but in reality, all it does is muck up the works, because now you're saying a scheduled narcotic can't be defined by the FDA. Well, this one. This specific one. What about hash oil? What about opium? What about heroin? None of these things need to be banned by the federal government unless it's listed specifically. You don't need an agency to figure this shit out. Just putting it out there. But the reason that the Democrats are doing this is to try and get the hippies back in line. Because the hippies are looking at what Joe Biden is doing and they're like, they ain't down for the struggle. They're losing that down for the struggle, and they're beginning to worry about the minority vote. And not the black vote, the minority vote. Keep them high, keep them doped up, and then they'll vote for us because it keeps them stupid. It's a good plan. It's a good plan by the Democrats. Because the media will play it as the Democrats did this. The Democrats helped you out. And you're not going to get any better. All right. Oscar brass suggested to Will Smith that he leave after the Chris Rock slap. Actor wasn't directly requested. Details are emerging that Will Smith wasn't directly asked to leave the Oscar ceremony after slapping Chris Rock over his G.I. Jane joke too. All right, about Jada Pinkett Smith, or rather, it was suggested. Okay. Really? So what you have now is the Academy caught lying. You have the Academy now, which has been caught lying about how they sit up there and asked Will Smith to leave, and he didn't leave. Well, why would you ask him to leave when you guys were all in on it? I'm telling you, the fact that Chris Rock won't say anything about this right now, that he doesn't dare, tells me a lot. It just reinforces the fact. The question that Chris Rock's going to have to do is he's going to have to sit up there and decide whether or not he wants to come clean what this was all about. That this was all a freaking fraud and this was all a setup. Because right now, what's happening is people are upset because Will Smith is taking heat. And a lot more than they expected. The Academy is taking heat. They're being told to do something to punish Will Smith for acting. How dare he act and put on a show at the Oscars, because that's what this was. And it's spinning out of control, folks. It is spinning out of control. Chris Rock, and I could have done the story, but I decided not to because there's enough freaking stories about this. Chris Rock recently, in one of his stand-up shows, had to tone down the fans. They actually had to remove some rowdy fans, all right, at his show because they were going off on Will Smith. And he was trying to tamp it down. Now, Chris Rock would have been sitting up there doing everything he can to sit up there and talk about the situation, if it was real. But as if he was participating in a show, and now you're stuck with Juicy. Now you're stuck with Janet. You're stuck in a rock and a hard place. Not as bad as Juicy. You're stuck in a problem with Janet Jackson and whatever Timberlake, Justin Timberlake. Where they did a show and then tried to say, oh no, it was a wardrobe malfunction. Giggling away. And the people at the Super Bowl had egg on their face and they were mad. They were upset because nobody even remembers what happened at that Super Bowl. Nobody even remembers who won or who even was there. Everybody remembers, however, the wardrobe malfunction. Were they Hank Williams Jr.'s rowdy friends from football? Not quite, Jeff. Not quite. Or Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. There I am, accusing you. Let's go around the world a little bit here. Swedish Supreme Court Justice fined for shoplifting. Really? A Supreme Court justice in Sweden has been fined for shoplifting a Christmas ham and meatballs along with other items. A prosecutor in a case said Thursday the 67-year-old woman was caught by staff at a grocery store in central Stockholm a week before Christmas. A week before Christmas. And you're just doing something about this in April. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke, folks. I have issued a fine regarding the crime of petty theft, all right, previously known as shoplifting. The chief public prosecutor, Per Nicholas, all right, told AFP. The judge resigned from her post in February when reports emerged that she was being investigated after serving 2 decades on the bench. So the question now is, just how many of her decisions, all right, when it came to criminal activity on their Supreme Court, did she overlook? Was this a recent trend of hers to shoplift? My guess is no. My guess is they've been overlooking what this woman's been doing for decades. 2 decades, in fact. You don't just wake up as a 67-year-old and go, you know what? You know, my whole life has been spent in law and order and doing the right thing. And, you know, what the hell? I'm just walking out with this ham. Talk about a disgrace. Continue around the world because everybody loves to beat on America. Let's see what else is going on here. She needed bread for her family. Oh yeah, it's the 1st of April. Yes, it is. Mother of 4 among 20 dead, all right, in Mexico Cockfight Massacre. This actually sounds like a massacre now, doesn't it? An American mom is dead and her teenage sister is in critical condition after 20 people were killed in a massacre at a cockfight. Melissa Silva and her sister Arleth Silva, 16, were on vacation in Michoacan. I'm not trying to butcher it. I don't know how to say it. Mexico, were at the gathering when gunfire rang out. Melissa, a mother of 4, was fatally shot. Arle was struck multiple times. 17 men and 3 women were shot to death during a bloody massacre in the La Tranjas, I guess is how you say it, region. Arles is in critical condition at the hospital. She is one of 4 who were hurt in the shooting. She was shot once in the lungs, twice in the legs, a family member claimed on a GoFundMe page. Prosecutors claimed that the shooters planned to attack and entered the area in a stolen truck owned by a snack food company. The snack food company truck arrived, and several armed people in camouflage clothing got out, prosecutors said in a statement. At the same moment, a bus that was outside of the building was used as a blockade, apparently to prevent victims from escaping or calling for help. The incident took place at 10:30 p.m. Sunday as a suspected team of cartel members wearing military uniforms burst into the crowded venue. The investigators found 15 vehicles allegedly belonging to the victims. One of them bore stickers with a logo of a criminal gang. The cops discovered more than 100 assault rifle shells littered across the ground. Prosecutors added that the drug cartels and other gangs have been fighting in the area. Now, I know nothing about these people, all right, aside from the fact that you were at a cockfight, all right? And I see nothing interesting about a cockfight. No, I'm not going to go there, Matt. All right? But I'm going to say something about going down to watch these kinds of things. You shouldn't be engaging in that kind of an activity anyway, all right? I do understand there's a cultural aspect to this stuff, and that just like bullfighting, right? Running with the bulls is kind of cool. Bullfighting, And the one thing you can say about bullfighters, at least bullfighters are out there with an animal that can kill them. Now, the man has the advantage. Okay? But there's no guarantees when you're dealing with animals that you're freaking torturing to death. Of what's going to happen to you. And I don't approve of the torture aspect of it. And yes, in bullfighting rings, they torture the animals to get them to be aggravated. They put lances in them, short lances to cause them pain. Good morning, Sean. So I'm not a fan of bullfighting. If people want to run with the bulls, all right, in the Palermo or wherever that is, go for it. If you get trampled by the bulls and are left for dead, well, stupid is as stupid does. Just put it out there. Just put it out there. From Breitbart. Army reducing its numbers in the face of recruiting difficulties. Really? Let's go into this. The Army this week admitted it was having problems recruiting and announced an unprecedented reduction in its numbers that would shrink the active duty Army to its smallest size since World War II. We're facing obviously some challenging conditions in terms of our ability to recruit and attract talent, said Undersecretary of the Army Gabe Camarillo. All right, at a press conference on Monday. Camarillo blamed a very tight labor market for the Army recruiting woes. Really? What we're seeing is giving the particular conditions of a very tight labor market, our ability to meet our projected recruiting goals, we're a little bit challenged in FY22 and FY23. Really? It wouldn't have anything to do with the commander-in-chief now, would it? Just putting it out there. The lack of trust, all right, in the commander-in-chief, the lack of trust in the Secretary of Defense, that wouldn't have anything to do with this at all. No. It's the tight labor market. Right, okay. He said that the Army decided on reducing its recruitment goals instead of lowering standards. Why is that? You've had no problem lowering standards before, or are you already at the very bottom? Have you lowered the standards all the way to the ground floor? I think that's a little bit more to it right now. You're having problems. You're having problems because you lowered standards to such a degree, all right? And then try to make the excuses of, well, we gotta, we don't want to do this and we don't want to do that. And 60% of the females soldiers could not pass the physical fitness test. Why? Because you lowered standards to let people in that shouldn't be in the military. But we're not done with this yet. He added that the Army hoped to build back its numbers over the next 5 years. We don't anticipate that this is a lasting change. It is something that we hope to bring back over the course of a fight up. All right? And it's something we certainly think is reflective of what we hope is to be a transient conditions in the labor market. Retired General Lieutenant Colonel or Lieutenant General Thomas Boyer, director of the Heritage Foundation's Center for National Defense, called the situation unprecedented. The Army has not faced such recruiting headwinds in the last 30 years. I am unaware of a situation where the Army has had to cut its strength in response to negative recruiting outlook. Sporer, I'm assuming that's how his name is said, all right, has attributed the decision to the Biden administration keeping the Army budget below inflation. Ding, 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 ding. They have cut the Army's budget. Good morning, Straight Sith Mail. Good morning, Sean. The reason they're cutting troop levels is because they cut the Army's budget. That's why. At a time period when you're seeing World War III prepping in the world, all right, the Biden administration has cut the Army's budget. Congress is spending out the wazoo, but turning around and demanding accountability and cutting within the Defense Department. And then they're coming back, well, there's a tight labor market and, things are pretty tough. And you've never had that problem before. During tight labor markets. Never had that problem before. Do now, though. Why? Because you're not willing to pay the soldiers. And the soldiers aren't, the soldiers are not going to sit up there and work for free. Not in today's, not today's kids. Why are they going to fight for America? America's evil. America's the land of racism. America's the land of bigotry. That's what they keep getting told in school. That's what they keep getting told by all these leftists. We know what this is about. We know what this is about. Has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with, well, we're at the tight labor market. We're having, you know what they used to do, right, when they had a quote-unquote tight labor market? Do you know what the military used to do? They used to offer bonuses to enlistment. They would go out of their way and they would sit up there and offer $10,000 up front. If once you enlisted and got through basic training, right, they would give certain MOSs $10,000. Just to enlist. Now we're going to have to lower our recruiting goal. We're going to have to lower our staffing level. We're going to have to lower the... No, it's because you sit up there and don't want them in. You want to spend that money on other things, and the reality is you already spent it. That's the sad part about all this, folks. That really is the sad part about all this. All right. Over to the Ukraine live map, and what do you see? Nothing changed. Oh, you see a lot of blue here, all right? Oh, look at this. Look, they're taking these places back. They're attacking. They're on the attack. This is worrisome, all right? But the Ukrainians are taking all this back. Putin said that he's going to pull back from Kiev, and he's going to realign down here. That's why you're seeing a lot of red down here. A lot of Russian equipment in Lushank. Uh-huh. But let's just go to some of the stupidity that's out there. Europe braces for Putin to turn off the gas. Deadline expires for the EU to start paying for Russian energy rubles or face supplies being stopped after the Kremlin issued a blackmail decree. But will Moscow blink first? The energy crisis dramatically intensified last night as Vladimir Putin threatened to turn off Europe's gas supplies as soon as today if the country refused to pay in rubles. The Russian president, announcing in a decree in a televised remarks yesterday, said foreign buyers would have to open rubles accounts in Russian banks, which can then be used to pay for gas deliveries starting tomorrow. If such payments are not made, we will consider this a default on the part of the buyers with all the ensuing consequences. Nobody sells anything for free, and we're not doing the charity either. That's existing contracts will be stopped. The move has been seen as a bid to bolster the Russian currency, which fell to historic lows. No, it's not about the currency. Okay? Anybody who believes that this is about the Russian currency, it's not about the Russian currency. What this is about is Vladimir Putin, Vlad, playing hardball. That's what Vladimir Putin is doing. And what he's doing is he's forcing these people to break their own sanctions to shut up there and with the Russian banks. Oh, we're gonna ban the banks and we're gonna ban people. Not anymore. And you don't have the gas supplies, Germany. You sold your souls to the devil. You were warned years ago by the evil God Emperor Trump, the evil orange man. Oh, he's Hitler. He told us to stop, working with Russia. Okay? You have an entire nation held hostage. Congratulations. You parasites. You guys have been parasites for a long freaking time. You Europeans are nothing but filthy parasites, in my opinion. What do I mean that? I'm feeling really stupid this morning. Why are you feeling stupid? Okay, I see what you're doing. Never mind. I'm not sure about the Popeye jokes. Nothing is more permanent than a temporary government program. Income tax was supposed to be temporary. Yeah. Well, actually, income tax was temporary. They did issue it. The first issuance of an income tax did not continue. Right? They actually had to stop it, and then they restarted it. Right? So there were a few years, once again, that after the income tax was initiated, that there wasn't an income tax again. I'm going to say this real this. He's saying F you to the West with China's help. It isn't just China. People act like Russia, all right, doesn't have anything. They act like Russia is just this poor, dysfunctional state. And it's not. It's not Western, all right? Does it is it perfect? Is it corrupt? Yeah, yeah, it's not perfect. I mean, it is corrupt. But considering how corrupt our politicians have gotten, how corrupt our society has become, how depraved it is, we're gonna sit up there and and try and bitch about don't say gay bill. I want the right to sexualize children from kindergarten to third grade. I want to talk to them about sex and sexuality. You have dumbed down people like Raven Simone, excuse me, who went on television saying, "Well, we need a don't say heterosexual bill." She doesn't even know what the damn legislation says. She has no idea. Russian troops suffer acute radiation sickness after digging Chernobyl trenches. Several hundred Russian soldiers were forced to hastily withdraw from Chernobyl's nuclear power plant in Ukraine after suffering acute radiation sickness from contaminated soil, according to Ukrainian officials. The troops, who dug the trenches in contaminated red forest near the site of the worst nuclear disaster in history, are now reportedly being treated in a special medical facility in Gomel, Belarus. The forest is so named because thousands of pine trees turned red, all right, during the 1986 nuclear disaster. The area is considered so highly contaminated that not even highly specialized Chernobyl workers are allowed to enter the zone. Energo Atom. What a name. All right, a Ukrainian agency in charge of the country's nuclear power stations said the Russian soldiers had panicked and fled. It has been confirmed that the occupiers who seized the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and other facilities in the exclusion zone set off in two columns toward the Ukrainian border in Belarus. The occupiers announced their intentions to leave the Chernobyl nuclear power plant this morning to Ukrainian personnel of the station, the agency said in a statement. All right. Now, do I believe this? Okay. We know that the ground is contaminated, okay, with radiation. Now, there are levels to this, okay? And one of the things you got to be careful of in a situation with so much contamination, good morning, Jacob, is the fact that the ground, as you're digging in it, creates dust, and the dust gets inhaled. It's in most cases, anything that the Ukrainians are saying, I just go because they're as much of liars as the Russians are, folks. But in this case, I can believe that this happened. If you had them out digging trenches, I would not have had them out digging trenches unless they had masks on. If they didn't have masks, they could have ingested a serious amount of radioactive material, and once it gets into the body, it's got to be excreted. But if you're digging for a long period of time, and digging a trench, is a significant process, and it creates a lot of dust, and you're inhaling that dust. If you didn't have a protective mask on, then yeah, you are probably suffering from radiation poisoning. That's not to say that this happened, okay? But digging trenches, I'll tell you right now, digging a trench in this area was not a good idea. I understand why they did it, but I guess it was not a good idea. $1986 to win is how long? talking 3 decades ago, 3.5 decades ago. Now, I was actually stationed in Germany at the time when this happened. Okay, and a lot of people freaked out over this. They wouldn't give us milk for months. You couldn't find milk for months. Everything you got was powdered milk from the U.S. I'm not exaggerating. Powdered milk from the U.S. For months like that. Because they were worried about it. Now, the amount of radiation in these areas, it's detectable. All right. Most of the radiation are beta emitters and a few alpha emitters, which is why beta emitters and alpha emitters are devastating if they get into the body. If you're protecting yourself, you don't have a problem. But if it gets into your body, different story. All right. Excuse me. Japan is not pulling out of the Russian energy project, Prime Minister Kishida said. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, said Thursday that Japan will not withdraw from the Sakhalin 2 oil and gas project in the Russia Far East, despite the firms of other countries exiting in response to Russian invasion of the Ukraine. It is an extremely important project in terms of energy security that has contributed to the long-term, stable supply of inexpensive liquefied natural gas, Kishida said in a parliamentary session. But he added, we will step up efforts to reduce our reliance on Russia for energy in line with a Group of 7 nations plan. Okay. Best way to disperse radioactive soil? Active volcano. No! I don't think throwing it in an active volcano is the best way to either disperse it or to dispose of it. Either way. Okay, I just don't. All right, and there's not that many active volcanoes where you can sit up there and dig up that ground and move it to. Okay. To be honest, we know what the radioactive substances are. If you really wanted to, the radioactive isotopes that are in the area, if they really wanted to do something about it, what they would be doing is processing it. Using mining processes, you can remove all of the isotopes. You can actually remove it. Now, you have to know what the hell you're doing, and you'd have to set up procedures to deal with the fact that the radiation isotopes are more than you're used to handling, to concentrate it. But it's not like we couldn't do it. And it's not like the Soviets couldn't have done it either, or the Russians couldn't have done it. The scale is huge. Okay? The scale of such a project would be massive, considering what happened in Chernobyl. But it could be done, and it could be done relatively quickly. The problem, of course, is you have wilderness all around this area, okay, and I mean real wilderness. You would have to deforest an entire region, all right, in order to effectively do this. Could it have been done? Yes. Centrifuges? No, you'd have to use a chemical process mainly. Just like ore processing. You'd have to sit up there and do it like ore processing. But Japan, all right, has no intention of pulling out of these deals, of pulling out of this deal with Russia, right, to create this pipeline. Absolutely none. And for people who go, well, Nomad, how come you're not, Nomad, why aren't you calling them parasites like you call the Europeans? Well, first of all, I don't necessarily consider this a betrayal because there is a bigger enemy out there that we should be really more worried about, and that's China. China. And Japan isn't worried about Russia. Japan is worried about China, specifically Taiwan. Japan can't afford to have Taiwan being taken over by the China and the Communist Chinese. Their economy, as much as their economy can be affected by Russia, that's nothing compared to what would happen to the Japanese economy if China invaded Taiwan. So Japan wants to use Russia as leverage to prevent that from happening. Not sure how it's going to work, but that's what their intent is. Now we go back to the U.S. with some horrible stories. Video shows subway rider beaten and swung around by hair by a homophobic attacker. Shocking video shows a homophobic subway rider swinging a stranger around by the hair, ripping some of it out and spitting at him, saying, "I'm sick of you effets," all right, according to the cops. The bigot, who was allegedly caught smiling wildly after the attack, had sat opposite the 22-year-old victim on the A train as it was approaching the 109th Street subway station in Hudson Heights just before 2:30 p.m. Saturday, the New York Police Department said. "I wish I had my pepper spray," said the attacker. The attacker said, spitting at the stranger and adding, "I have to start carrying my pepper spray," cops said. The victim stood up after the deranged stranger, right, spat at him again, and then just to be punched several times in the face and the head. Another strap hanger filmed as the black-clad thug yanked his victim around the mostly empty subway car by the hair, pausing only to beat him. After ripping out some of the 22-year-old stranger's hair, the attacker said, "I'm sick of you effets," the police said. The victim was taken to the Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in stable condition after losing hair and suffering cuts to his head. Well, here's a question. Did you arrest the guy, or did he get away? Did you arrest the guy? For attacking this guy? Did you arrest him, or did he get away? This is a horrific attack. Saturday on a subway in the afternoon, early afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Guy just attacks a guy. What'd you do about it? I'll tell you this: if you sprayed him with pepper spray, that's at least less lethal than slugging him and trying to hit him in the head, swinging him around by his hair. And here's a question: the strap hanger who stood up there and filmed it, is he in jail? Why didn't he help? Well, I'm just curious. You see this kind of crap happening again and again and again. It's becoming commonplace now. I could do a story about subway attacks like this almost every day. Really. There's news like this almost every day with this kind of crap in the subways. In a place where people with the liberals dominate. Where the liberal worldview is totally running the show. They know that crime is spiked completely out of control, and the mayor, what's the mayor doing? Not a bloody thing. Not a bloody thing to fix the problem. But see, that's because, well, the reason for that is you gotta understand, Black Lives Matter. That's the reason. Black Lives Matter. And Sherardi, I understand that the Russians are making deals with China. Right? I'm not unaware of this. Right? That's one diplomatic move. These are diplomatic moves going back and forth. But that's what Japan is doing it for. Now, whether they'll succeed or not is still problematic. There are a lot of problems with Japan and Russia. There are a lot of contentions over the Sakhalin Islands. A white person would have been arrested and sentenced by now. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? I don't think the police are capable of doing anything. In New York right now, they're so hamstrung about doing anything. The police right now in New York, as far as I can tell, have given up. They just stopped trying to enforce the law. They'll do token things, it seems, here and there, but that's about it. I know you have more links. I've seen those links as well. I was describing what Japan was doing, Sherardi. And as you see, I've had plenty of stories already today. And I have another one. Florida woman told to stop panhandling sets gasoline station clerk on fire. Let's see what this perpetrator did, shall we? A homeless woman told not to panhandle outside a Florida gas station doused the clerk with gasoline and set her on fire, officials said. Betty Jean McFadden was charged with attempted murder in the gruesome attack at the Circle K gas station in Pensacola, where she was told earlier Wednesday to leave. McFadden left but returned about 1 p.m. Wednesday with a gas can and attacked the female clerk by dousing her with the fuel she had panhandled before throwing matches on her, all right, and setting her on fire. A second gas station employee was also burned while helping to put out the flames. McFadden proceeded to calmly walk out of the gas station and was arrested a few blocks away. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and her family, said Sheriff Chip Simmons, all right, in a statement. This is a senseless, practically indescribable act of cruelty. Really? What a surprise. I guarantee you there were words said here. Right? McFadden, who is listed as homeless in jail records, is being held without bond on an attempted murder charge. It's unclear if she's hired an attorney to who would comment on her behalf. The Escambia County Sheriff's Office spokesman told the Post she would not provide an update on the victim's condition early Thursday, citing privacy laws. We know that she is suffering life-threatening injuries, right, said the spokeswoman Amber Southard in an email. The female clerk has not been identified, had horrific burns, and was rushed into the hospital. She ran from McFadden after she was doused in gasoline. Right, multiple witnesses saw the grisly attack and used clothing and water inside the gas station to extinguish the flames. The second clerk, who was also hospitalized, McFadden did not say anything about the woman she doused with gasoline did not say anything to the woman she doused with gasoline prior to the attack. No, I'll bet she said something prior to being told to leave. All right, before she left the first time. And so you have a deranged homeless person who's probably strung out on drugs, Dude looked like a lady. All right. Probably sit up there and strung it on drugs, right? Now, I'll tell you this. You take a look at that picture, and one thing that comes to mind almost immediately from my perspective is that woman was, couldn't have been homeless for very long. Or at least she's eating well. Because she definitely wasn't in the I'm in the starvation category. I mean, you just take a look. Take a look at this picture of her. Think she's missing too many Twinkies? Water for a gas fire? That won't work. No, that's true. One of the things that I don't understand is those places have fire extinguishers. They should have fire extinguishers everywhere. Why somebody didn't grab a fire extinguisher, I don't know. Does this woman look like she's homeless? Does she look like she's freaking, missing any sandwiches? Let's be perfectly blunt here. This is someone who's probably strung out on drugs. Been strung out on drugs, and that's what caused this. The reaction of her being strung out on drugs. Keep doing that. I'm going to have to fix that. Japanese city to host penis festival. Revelers, in a Japanese city are preparing for the Kanamara Matsuri, a annual celebration known as the Penis Festival. The Matsuri, all right, which roughly translate to Festival of the Steel Phallus, begins each year on the first Sunday of April at the Kanayama Shrine in Kawasaki. The festival centers around the Shinto god Kanayama Hiko, the goddess of Kanayama Hime, all right, and the goddess Kanayama Hime, excuse me, all right. The deities are associated with metallurgic arts and sexual health. Revelers at the festival traditionally include sex workers seeking protection from disease, and in modern times, the crowd has grown to include LGBT groups seeking sexual blessings and married couples praying for fertility and healthy children. Yeah, okay. The Penis Festival. Teach their own. Teach their own. Over to great jolly old England, or Britain, I should say. Newlyweds, spent their wedding night in jail after the bride hit her own mother with a stiletto in a mass brawl. All right, are now living apart. A bride who spent her wedding night behind bars after attacking her own mother with a stiletto is now living apart from her new husband, the Mail Online can reveal. Claire Goodbrand, 26, pleaded guilty to assault earlier this week after the incredible wedding night bust-up in which her new husband, Ilman? What kind of... Emamon? I've never seen that name before. Ilman. Okay? Ilman. Alright? Imamon. Alright, Goodbrand. And the best man, Goodbrand's brother, alright, were also involved. Today it emerged that despite taking his name, the couple has been living in separate houses in recent months, although they are understood to still see each other. The Goodman's wedding reception 3 years ago erupted into violence after hours of heavy drinking when a row began. Bride Claire, herself a mother of four, seized her own mother, Cherry Ann Lindsay, 47, by the hair before hitting her with a stiletto and putting her hands around her throat. Now, I, when I first read this, and I first read about the stiletto, I was thinking it was a knife. I guess now that I realize it was probably a stiletto-heeled shoe. But if you're taking your shoe and you're beating your mother with it, I mean, I hate to say this, but the husband, he's married to the woman and everything else, but dude, you failed. You failed, dude. You failed. You stuck your phallic symbol in crazy. Okay? You stuck your penis in crazy. And now you're stuck with crazy. Now the mother has retaliated. Yes, she's retaliated and said that Claire is no longer in her will. Okay? I'm not sure. All right. They can be just as dangerous. I'm sure that they can. All right. Now, if it was a stiletto knife, it would have been, I mean, because I was like, she said hit her mother with a stiletto knife. Now, if you take a look at the happy couple here, let's take a look at the happy couple here. Now, first of all, I'm going to be real blunt here. Dude, you're marrying an older woman. All right. Is this the first person you laid? You know, you got enamored with the tattoo of the heart. I mean, what is it? What is it? What's your reasoning for marrying this woman? Just asking. All right. Is the fact that she didn't mind your bald head? Is that the issue? They should have went to the penis festival. Kind of fits with the storyline now, doesn't it? She was planning on... I don't know. Maybe that's a better question to ask Jada Smith. I'm just pointing out their shot. Oh, I think the film Single White Female from years back, also for Ms. Murder. Stick your dick in crazy. I can't see attacking your mother with a high heel. And I'll tell you something else. I don't know about your parents, right? But my mom, when she fought with my sister, if my sister had attempted to get physical with my mom would have beat her to near death. Okay? At 47 years old, my sister, even in her 20s, right, would not have been able to take my mom. Now, my mom is 80-something. So, yeah, now she could probably take my mom. But prior to that, I'm telling you, my sister would have freaking lost. And you want to see a woman get mad? I'll never forget the day that my mother decided to discipline me when I must have been 14 years old. 13 or 14. Right around there. And she pulled out the proverbial wooden spoon and smacked me across the buttocks with it, right? And I had the audacity to laugh at her. All right? Never laugh at an angry woman, folks. Just put it out there. The worst thing you could ever do is laugh at an angry woman. Because their face will rip. The conniption will happen and the face will just rip apart. It'll look like a horror scene. Teeth will come from everywhere. And all you know is you gotta leave. All you know is you gotta get out of the area because death is on its way. A horrific death. final story of the day, folks. And yes, it's sexual themed as well, unfortunately. Why not? Prostitution sting nets man 68 wearing a French maid's uniform and a chastity belt. A 68-year-old Florida man wearing a French maid's outfit and chastity belt was among dozens of alleged Johns swept up in an undercover prostitution operation targeting suspects placing and answering an online sex ads. The 5-day crackdown by the Polk County Sheriff's Office and the Lakeland Police Department netted 95 arrests and was highlighted by the collar of David Marsh, who told officers he worked for Home Depot. According to the cops, Marsh answered an online ad and solicited the undercover female detective to dominate him. Marsh, police say, rode his bicycle to the hotel where he met up with the undercover agent in her room. Marsh travels on bike because he's lost his driver's license due to a drunk driving arrest. Once inside the hotel room, Marsh peeled off clothing to reveal his maid's uniform, chastity belt, and dog collar. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Remember? Oh God. Oh, what a great society we have. You're right. You're right. No, it's amazing what they do. Dubbed Operation Naughty Not Nice, the prostitution sting ended Sunday, which included the arrest of 50 alleged hookers and 33 Johns. Okay, how are you electing hookers with online ads? I just put it out there. Some of these people needed to be beaten as children. Some of these people need to be beaten, period. But going back to the Chris Rock thing, and I asked this question. Seriously, don't you think that there are some people who just need to be slapped? Now, I'm not saying that Chris Rock is one of them. I'm just pointing out that there are times when people just need to get slapped. Just one of those things. It would have prevented this. This guy, dude, you might want to rethink your life. You're 68 years old. You work for Home Depot. Okay, get that. You just recently had a DUI conviction. Do you think maybe, instead of answering online ads, you might want to just sit down, lay back a little bit, and rethink what you've been doing wrong in your life? Wanted a host to meet at a hotel for fun and games. Oh, it's a possibility, unfortunately. All right, folks, I've been going on for a little over an hour now. I've been trying to keep these down a little bit. I hope that you all enjoyed the show. I'll talk at you all later. Thanks for coming out, everybody, and have a good day now.